Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Friday, February 3rd, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with WWE Financial news. The company released its quarter 4 and full 2022 financial reports yesterday, revealing a record-setting annual 2022 revenue of $1.2915 billion, with a record-setting net income of $195.6 million. Raw and SmackDown were shown to be holding viewers at a higher rate than the TV networks they're on, as well as the entire TV landscape as a whole. On the 2022 earnings call, which accompanied the press release yesterday, WWE CEO Nick Khan indicated that Raw viewership was up 2% in quarter 4 of 2022, and that SmackDown viewership was up 6%, with an average audience of 2.3 million, while TV viewership in general was down 18%. Khan spoke in detail about WWE's annual financial records and increased reach of its content. He also stated that he expects both nights of WrestleMania in LA's SoFi Stadium to be sold out. Chief Content Officer Paul Levesque was also on the call. Among his remarks about WWE Creative, he hinted at a licensing deal with WWE has signed with TikTok, which would include the launch of international and individual talent-based accounts officially endorsed by the company. We note that the statistical analysis provided by Brandon Thurston on WrestleNomics was consulted for this report. In ratings news, AEW Dynamite viewership for Wednesday night's episode fell below 1 million viewers once again after exceeding 1 million for last week's episode. Total viewership for the show, broadcast live on TBS, was 901,000, down over 10% from last week's 1.003 million for the Jay Briscoe tribute special, according to Showbuzz Daily. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.31, translating to 404,000 viewers, and down from last week's 0.32 rating, according to WrestleNomics. Nevertheless, the episode came in second place on cable TV for the week in the key demo, up from last week's third-place position. In Canada, Dynamite was viewed by an audience of 88,300 viewers on TSN2, down 29% from last week's show, according to Post Wrestling. Viewership in Canada's key 25 to 54-year-old demographic was 44,100, down 35% from last week. And now some unfortunate news on the passing of 20-year ring veteran Leaping Lanny Poffo, younger brother of Randy Macho Man Savage. Poffo died yesterday of undisclosed causes at the age of 68. Residing in recent years in Ecuador, Poffo was visiting New York this week for a family function at the time of his death. The news of his passing was first broken in an Instagram post by longtime friend Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Known for his high-flying style, the poems he would recite before each match, and the frisbees he would toss into the crowd, Poffo is best remembered for his years in the WWF, arriving with Randy in 1985 and remaining there until 1992. Poffo achieved his greatest notoriety under the persona of the Genius, which he adopted in 1989 and even led to a title shot against WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event. As the Genius, he also worked as a manager with Mr. Perfect and the Beverly Brothers among his charges. A second-generation performer, Lanny was the son of Angelo Poffo and debuted alongside him in 1974, breaking into the business in Ann Gunkel's All-South Wrestling in Atlanta and the Sheik's Big Time Wrestling in Detroit. Though younger than Randy, Lanny preceded him in the business by several months due to Randy's minor league baseball career. Poffo's WWF career was devoid of championships, but in the earlier part of his career in the mid to late 70s, he amassed quite a few, including the Detroit version of the NWA World Tag Team title with his father and with Chris Colt, the Gulf Coast Tag Team title with Randy, the Mid-America Heavyweight title, as well as the Mid-America Tag Team title with both Bobby Eaton and Pez Whatley, and he was also a two-time international champion for Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling in the Maritimes. Though he retired from full-time action after leaving the WWF, Poffo still occasionally wrestled from time to time, with his most recent match occurring in 2020. He was instrumental in getting his brother Randy inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame and accepted the posthumous honor on his behalf in 2015. With some more sad wrestling news, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
We are also saddened to report the passing of longtime AWA journeyman wrestler Sodbuster Kenny J. who died earlier this week at age 85, as first reported by his longtime friend, wrestling announcer Mick Karch. Born Kenny Benkowski, he first stepped in the ring in the 1950s for Chicago promoter Fred Kohler. But after taking a hiatus for military service, in 1962 he settled into a regular spot in the Midwestern-based American Wrestling Association, appearing regularly as an enhancement talent on TV tapings and house shows for more than 20 years. Jay was perhaps seen by the largest audience of his career when he sparred with Muhammad Ali on ABC's Wide World of Sports in the lead-up to Ali's 1976 boxer-wrestler match with Antonio Inoki. He supplemented his wrestling income by opening a landscaping business, which was the source of his Sodbuster nickname. Jay retired from wrestling in 1984, but made occasional appearances until the AWA's demise in 1991. In 2005, he was honored by the Cauliflower Alley Club. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
And we close with some injury news. Keiji Muto revealed yesterday while speaking at the K1 MMA Awards in Japan that he sustained a torn thigh muscle. The injury occurred during his January 22nd match in Yokohama, teaming with Sting and Darby Allin to defeat Akira Hakushi and Naomi Marufuji. The match had been advertised as his final one using the Great Muta persona. Muta is still scheduled to face Tetsuya Naito on February 21st at the Tokyo Dome in his official retirement match. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.